I just want to give you guys a quick recap on the 2025 draft class, and then I will do a mock draft in this video. So, what's going on, you guys? This is me, Jason, aka Titans Daily, and welcome back to another episode of Sports Digest. Pretty much going through, each pick, each round that we selected in 2025. Then we're going to use the mock draft to, go through everything. I hope everything looks well. If it doesn't, then that's on my end. I'm editing this right now, actually. It's probably why you're getting the message of I didn't. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy this video. Obviously, round one, pick one. Cam Ward, obviously the cream of the crop. Cam Ward had a crazy rookie year, obviously first 5 games, 6 games, Brian Callahan tried to lead the charge with another first overall pick. Joe Burrow he's worked with, but he didn't call plays in Cincinnati. Peyton Manning with the Colts or Broncos for a little bit, sorry. And then there's another one, Matt Stafford, I think he worked with a little bit in Detroit. But look that up on your own time because I'm pretty sure Brian Callahan did, in fact, coach Matt Stafford in Detroit. Actually, all right, we are on Brian Callahan's Wikipedia. UCLA, Denver Broncos coaching assistant. So that was before Peyton Manning. But obviously, there's Peyton Manning right here in 2013 to 2015. Peyton Manning left the Colts in 2011, 2012. Signed with the Broncos in free agency, and the Titans were in the mix, and Peyton Manning, by the way. So first ever win that Brian Callahan had as the Titans head coach was on Monday Night Football when the Titans beat the Dolphins 31-12. Anyways, so he did Matthew Stafford, so 2016, 2017, that checks out. Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow, and a little bit of Derek Carr because the Raiders are on there 2018. I'm pretty sure Derek Carr left the Raiders in 2019, 2020, something like that. 2020, 2021. I remember his first year with the Saints. It was like 2022, 2023. I don't remember the exact Derek Carr timeline, right? Because he retired after the 24 season. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, back to the Titans website here. Cam Ward was a great pick. He had some upside at the end of the season, finished with 16 total touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. 7 interceptions came from, rookie stuff. Obviously, rookie year, you're going to have ups and downs. And, I think Cam Ward was a great pick at the spot. He's a great young quarterback. He's mobile. And then, I think Brian Daboll is going to do a phenomenal job working around with him because Brian Daboll has that resume of being with Josh Allen, just recently with Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, a bunch of veteran guys. I expect the Titans to sign a veteran guy in free agency. So, Femi only played in a few games this past year. Didn't see much from him from a converted linebacker, now edge rusher. That's why it says outside linebacker in UCLA. I also want to credit the Titans website. I'll leave a link down below on where I found this stuff so I don't get a copyright infringement. But Femi Oladeo, obviously same thing, rookie, trial and error. He got injured, though, at the back half of his rookie campaign. Had a knee injury, and, I hate to see it, but, that's the gamble with a second-round pick or a day 2 pick. And, Oladejo's great. Like, he has tremendous upside. He can really be that edge player that Robert Saleh could use on D-line, plug and play. Pretty much, this is basically Harold Landry's replacement. If you didn't know who Harold Landry is, Harold Landry used to play for the Titans, drafted him out of Boston College, in 2018, 2019, something like that. 2018, I want to say, second round, actually. Traded up to get Harold Landry. He had a sack against Andrew Luck on Sunday Night Football. That a game I thought we were going to win, but we had Blaine Gabbert as our quarterback because Marcus Mariota was hurt because he had that stinger in his thumb. It was such a weird injury. You should actually, I want to see if I can find a picture on Google, but he had like a thumb glove to fix that. Like, it was crazy. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is the glove I was talking about. It's just a weird mechanic glove. You see that over his fingers, and like it's partially blocking his right hand, his throwing hand. And look at that headline: Mariota comes off the bench. Titans beat Jaguars 9-6. Not a great time in our franchise. Actually, it was Mike Vrabel's first year because of those uniforms, and I know that because I remember when we introduced those new uniforms, had like a little watch party on Broadway. And if you remember this was almost 8 years ago, right? Crazy, right? That's the first year of Mike Vrabel. And, a lot of Titans fans wanted Mike Vrabel fired after his first year because of the whole Mike Mularkey situation. And, if you don't know who Mike Mularkey is, do a quick Google search and you'll figure out who Mike Mularkey is. But anyways, I'll get back to the draft thing. Yeah, Aladejo. Yeah, I'm hoping for him to have a better year too. Same thing with Cam Ward. All of these guys, I hope they have a really good year too. And we'll move on to, I believe, is Kevin Winston Jr. It is Kevin Winston Jr. And then I have to go back to Kevin Winston Jr. Okay. Kevin Winston Jr. Penn State. Kevin Winston Jr., phenomenal player at Penn State. Honestly had a round 1 grade if he didn't have an injury. We didn't see much of Kevin Winston in 2025, but we saw bits and pieces, and, he is a really good safety. Kevin Winston, Kevin Byard, you get what I'm going. Personally, I want to see the Titans reunite with Kevin Byard, but, I'm not going to get that message through, right? I'm not the GM. I'm not Mike Borgonzi. I'm not Chad Brinker. I'm no one in this front office yet. But I will say what I've seen of Kevin Winston so far this year is just an instinctive player, plays a really good role in our defense. And, with our 2 safeties being him and Amani Hooker, and I think he'll grow in year 2. And, watch a couple concerns, which is like injuries. But, someone like Winston is a great pick for day 2. Chim Dike, great returner. Obviously, first-year Pro Bowler. Led the league in all-purpose yards. Obviously, it's return yards. Led the league in return yards. I know he didn't do a lot in regards to the passing game of the Titans, but he's a great special teams player, and, keeping Bones Fossil in as a special teams coordinator for the Titans is really good. It's going to add more to the layers of the Brian Daboll onion, right? And whenever you have players like Chimere Dike, you think of Devin Hester or, Jacoby Jones, may he rest in peace. Other returner legends, rather, like punt returner legends. You got the Ronnie Lotts. I know he was a safety, but I'm sure Deion Sanders. We didn't select a single Colorado player in this draft, but that's a really good Gator to hold on to. If you didn't know, I'm a Vols fan too, so it pains me to say that, but Chimere Dike has been a really good player. Next up, we got Gunnar Helm. If I can even get on Gunnar Helm's. Oh, we got Roger Goodell. Gunnar Helm. I think he's going to be our tight end 1 next year. Possibly tight end two if we decide to re-sign Chigokonkwo. But I think finding a true tight end one that can that can block and catch makes all the world of difference, especially in a Brian Daboll system. We saw that with Dawson Knox. I think Kincaid was a rookie a couple years ago, and that was after Daboll's time. But Dawson Knox was a really key contributor of the Bills. You know, they also had a couple other tight ends. I'm blanking on their names, but I just remember they had a really good, core receiver room, tight ends, that can do everything, block, catch. And that's what Gunnar Helm did in 2025. He blocked really good, and he did a hell of a job, catching the balls when needed to. He had a really good contested catches. He had good catches against the 49ers, is one tape review I was looking at the other day. Had a really good game against the Seahawks. I could almost argue like the next player, which is going to be really nice because that's actually a lot of these players that I've met at the practice, in August of 2025. That's when Callahan was still the head coach. But we'll get past that, and we'll go to the 5th round pick, which I think was the steal of the draft, but you didn't hear it from me. That's something else. All right. Next player I do want to bring up is Alec Iomanor. I think Alec, hands down was a really good pass catcher. There are some drops. Yes, a wide receiver is going to drop a couple balls. It happens. Look at A.J. Brown. That's an infamous example because I'm talking about the Titans, but A.J. Brown dropped some balls. Justin Jefferson, a couple other players. Jamar Chase in his preseason in 2021. That is a Google that kind of thing. What did Jamar Chase do in the 2021 preseason? Well, he had one of the most dropped passes, and people thought he was going to be a bust because he left college a year early. This was pre-NIL, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure there was bonuses handed out by said team, LSU, to, Jamar Chase, but I'm not going to speak on, unsolicited envelopes. That's all speculation whether or not college players were paid before NIL. But furthermore, I just like to say that Alec Iomanor was a steal at pick 136 in round 4. All right. Next player that didn't get a lot of action this past year, Jackson Slater. Interior offensive linemen are granted. Seriously, the offensive line is the most underappreciated, well-oiled machine, right? The offensive line calls out everything, and they get so much crap for it. Like sacks allowed, penalties, etc., etc. Other minute details, like switching off from a deuce to a tray or guard and tackle. It's a universal term, guys. A deuce is whenever you tell your tackle, when you're literally in a 3-point stance, or whenever I never played guard, obviously. I'm not Quentin Nelson, who is probably the best offensive guard in the NFL, arguably. But whenever it comes to offensive line play, it's literally down in the trenches. You are literally trying to protect your quarterback, protect all of your players, pretty much in that personnel. And let me drink some more water. And whenever you have somebody like Jackson Slater that's probably going to take over somebody's contract, i.e. Lloyd Cushenberry, might be cut. Might be. I don't think so, but he might be. Might be in that welcome category. But Jackson Slater, hands down, really, really instinctive guard. I know I use the word instinctive a lot. Um, you know, really can, pull really well. Like he can pull out. Like what I mean is, if I had a whiteboard, I would just like draw it. Like, you know what I mean. Look up a football play and get back to me, and let me know what you would call it. Because whenever you have a guard pulling or a guard pulling out, you want them to take their defensive lineman or linebacker, Mike, Will, Sam, etc. Those are different types of linebackers, by the way. And you can push them up the field 10, 15 yards, get a first down, hopefully. Maybe your running back finds that hole. Maybe it doesn't. If he does, it's a pretty good play. It's going to look really good on your film. All right, Marcus Harris. Another player that had to see action because, one, the Titans traded away Jarvis Brownlee Jr. like week 4 or 5. Marquez Brownlee Jr. Is that what his name is? Or is it Jarvis Brownlee Jr.? Hold on. It is Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Okay. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Marquez Brownlee. I feel like that's the YouTuber MKBHD, right? MKBHD. Say that 3 times fast. Marcus Harris had to kind of plug and play because L'Jarius Sneed was out for a significant amount of time for injuries, known/unknown personal issues. I don't know what's going on with the L'Jarius Sneed situation. The whole trade between the Titans and L'Jarius Sneed, looked good on paper. Maybe it was a bit of an overpay. I think the terms of the deal was commit to 4 years, $72 million APY, meaning at all costs bared, the Titans can get out of the contract after 2 years, 3 years, whatever the clause is, whatever L'Jarius Sneed's agent said, right? And there's a dead cap and there's a salary cap. Dead cap is basically excess money you basically paid to a different player, i.e. L'Jarius Sneed, Lloyd Cushenberry, Tony Pollard. I'm just naming players on the Titans that, could get the Grim Reaper, as a lot of players call it. The Grim Reaper is basically you walking upstairs to find out that you've been cut or that you've been re-signed, etc., etc. It's basically either bad news, good news, or bad news kind of situation. But Marcus Harris did a good job. We also traded away Roger McCreary week 3 or 4, early in the season, right, to the Rams, I believe. We traded Jarvis Brownlee Jr., not Marquez Brownlee Jr., to the Jets, I want to say. I feel like it was the Jets, but don't quote me on that. Marcus Harris, great plug-in player. A lot of these players in the draft that you get in the later rounds are going to be plug-and-play because you never know when you're going to get traded in the NFL. You never know when you're going to get cut. I mean, obviously your agent's going to tell you, but sometimes your agent isn't as reliable as Adrian Wojnarowski, right? just to name an example. But otherwise, great pick for the Titans. Settled, done deal, and, can't wait for Marcus Harris in year 2. All right, next up we got Khalil Mullings from Michigan. Great third down running back behind Pollard and Spears. Honestly, I think it might be a mistake to give the keys to Pollard/Spears, like sharing carries is what I mean. But Tony Pollard, back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons, worked out really well so far for the Titans. I think Khalil Mullings is that third down running back, kind of a hybrid of what Darrington Evans was supposed to be. If you don't know who Darrington Evans is, he used to play for the Titans a few years ago. Drafted him in 2020. That's the infamous worst Titans draft in history. 2020, they drafted Isaiah Wilson in the first round, right? I don't think there's any players in the 2020 draft on the Titans roster right now. If I can think about who they picked, I don't think so. Christian Fulton's gone. Isaiah Wilson, for obvious reasons, is gone. Who else would still be on this team? Darrington Evans is not on the team. I think Nate Davis was 2019, so I'm not going to say Nate Davis, and he's obviously not on the team anymore. A.J. Brown's not on the team anymore. That's 2019. But 2019 was like the pinnacle of our draft, like the best draft the Titans have ever had in a long time, and I mean a long time. You know, Titans fans, myself included, have been like, damn, we need to really get over the hump and, you know, draft really good players. And, you know, you see the back-to-back offensive lineman stuff within 2023. We took Peter Skoronski, you know, which I think they're going to pick up their option on Peter Skoronski. Basically what that means, whenever you pick up a fifth-year option, it basically just tells the player, hey, you're under contract for another year for a set amount of money. And the player can opt out of that, which I don't think Peter's the kind of guy to opt out of that, but hear me out. I think there's like a deadline you have to say that by, because all first-round picks get that contingency in their first contract. You have the ability to decline or agree to your fifth-year option. Just saying. Brass tacks. Anyways, Cleo Mullings, great player. I mean, I say great player even though he's our third down running back. You know, great on special teams. That's a big emphasis on this past year's draft, 2025 draft. And, you know, with this draft coming up shortly, I mean, I think we have the combine in, 3 weeks? The weekend of the 28th, the 29th. You know, we get March 1st in that window, maybe. It's obviously going to be in Indianapolis. It's where it's been for the past 30 years. You know, I don't know how long the combine's been around, but let's say 30 years for a safe guess, right? I mean, it might have been around longer than that, but let's just say 30, 35 years since players have been able to report either A, I'm going to work for a full-time job, or B, I'm going to try out for the NFL. And that's basically what the combine is. It's basically a set of workouts pushed into different groups on different days. Like, let's say all skill position players get a Thursday, right? Wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs of whoever declared, and there's probably a deadline. There's definitely a deadline. It's the NFL. But some teams like to say, screw the deadline. Just saying. But I'm not going to talk about the draft anymore until I start this mock draft. So I'm going to get that started real quick. I'll meet you guys there. We have approached the 2026 mock draft. We got it. We got 8 picks. I say we as in the Titans. 8 picks. 2 came from trades. Round 5 came from the Roger McCreary trade that occurred in October. And the Marquez Brownlee. The Jarvis Brownlee trade gave us a 6th-round pick, a conditional 6th-round pick. But we'll figure out the compensatory picks for Ernest Jones in a little bit, maybe. I don't know when that's going to be released. Maybe sometime in February. Yes, I'm recording this in February 4th to be exact. But yeah, I'm editing this the day after. Hopefully get it on the 5th. Get this video out on the 5th. If it doesn't come out on the 5th, I don't know what to tell you. It should come out on the 5th. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Okay. Back. Let's get down to business. All right. We are the GM right now of the Titans. Let's see how this goes. All right. So we got Mendoza going 1, Ruben Bain going 2, Caleb Downs going 3, and the Panthers are giving us crap. But the thing with these trade offers and mock drafts, this is a mock. meaning it's fake. Draft doesn't start till April 27th. Okay, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's the last Thursday of April. Don't quote me on that date just yet. I'll actually look at the calendar. April 30th, maybe. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the exact date of the draft. I know, casual. But anyways, Panthers pick 19, pick 51, 2027 second. I'm not trading out of this no matter what the Bengals. Honestly, if I was the Titans, I wouldn't take this. Reject. Okay. We can also propose trades. We can trade with other teams. That's the whole point of this website, is to make a mock draft, basically, and figure out where each team is going. Like, obviously, the draft order's here, right? If you guys can see that. Titans again, round 2. But let's just get right into this. I know you guys are tired of waiting. Okay. Honestly, they took Ruben Bain. The Jets took Ruben Bain at 2 because Dante Moore. I know I made a first round mock, a month ago, but a couple weeks ago actually, probably. Ruben Bain was the Titans pick I had at 4. Now I'm looking at wide receivers. Mekhi Lemon would be really good. Carnell Tate would also be pretty good, but it's like keeping in the back of your head, what are the needs for the Titans? And I think the needs that the Titans have are, ignore this, by the way, this right here. It's just, no, we don't do that. I don't do that. I think 2 of those needs are very much desired. Wide receiver, edge. Obviously, you need to get pass rush help. That's how you win games. You can't just depend on Jeffrey Simmons and Jihad Ward. If we resign Jihad Ward, I'll do a separate video on that. I think corner is a big need. Tight end is an underrated need. Okay, it's already got tight end, linebacker. Yeah, I kind of have that same list, to be honest. But I added safety just in case, like there's background stuff. But right now, for taking Arvell Reese, amazing player. Probably the best linebacker in this class. Great guy. Now let's see how this draft goes out. I probably should have changed the speed a little bit, but that's okay. You know what? I'm gonna do that. Restart. Yeah, we're gonna restart this. This is okay. We're gonna put fast. ESPN. If Arvell Reese isn't there at 4, I'm fine. Arvell Reese is not there at 4, and the Bengals keep trying to hit us with some stuff that looks very appealing to a fan, but not to me. All right, we're gonna go Ruben Bain again. It's either between Ruben Bain and Arvell Reese. Right now, I got Ruben Bain. Great player. Obviously we need a true edge. We lost Harold Landry. We're depending on Jihad Ward. But yeah, this is the fast option. The Jags want to trade pick 56 and a 27 second, but will that 27 second be really good or really bad? Because what you're going through in the mind of like a draft is like, okay, what can we get from the team? Is this team going to be any good next year or, next season or whatever, right? And like the Jags, for example, great team, had a good run, but got cut short by the Bills. Not really a good thing. The Bears, same kind of boat in the Jags, but the Jags are offering me a 27 fourth and a 27 second for this pick. So someone's on the board. I'm going to reject both of them just because. I took Ruben Bain at first, right? At 4. And, honestly, solid pick. Robert Saleh is going to love that pick, I hope. He's a defensive head coach from the 49ers. If you guys didn't know, used to coach the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers. You guys remember that whole debacle? Anyways, I'm gonna stop talking about the Jets because they might have a good future, but then again, it is the Jets. They picked Ty Simpson at 16. Honestly, not a bad pick if Dante Moore doesn't play. They're picking at 2 and 16. Sounds like their record next year. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for crapping on the Jets, but okay. CJ Allen goes to the Cardinals. Okay, well, my next biggest need is wide receiver. Biggest need right now because the Titans are looking for that true wide receiver one. I've seen it in the reports over the past couple days. Can it be a KC Concepcion, right, from A&M? Can it be a Chris Brazel from the University of Tennessee? Obviously, I would like that pick, but historically, Titans rarely, if ever, select Tennessee players, meaning they rarely select wide receivers from the University of Tennessee. I say this because Justin Hunter didn't work out. Well, he kind of did. He just lost his job to Dorial Green Beckham, but that's a whole different story for a whole different day. I'm going to select Chris Brazel here because he honestly is one of the best recruits. I'm going to say recruits or prospects. Prospects is probably a better word, but prospects in this draft. I really like Chris Brazel's size at 6'3", or 6'5", excuse me, 6'5" with pads and cleats. Comparing him to Dante Thornton, kind of a good radar. I mean, Thornton's on the Raiders, so Mendoza's going to have a hell of a time with him next year. I'm just assuming that Mendoza's the unanimous number 1 overall pick, but we'll figure that out. Brazel, there we go. Next on my need list, Packers. They come a calling. Chad Brinker. For those of you that didn't know, Chad Brinker used to be a higher up, like a director of player personnel at the Packers, a long time ago. It's 15 years out, 16 years out. Whenever they won their championship or the Super Bowl against the Steelers is when that time period was. It's a long time ago. I'm not good with dates. Not a great. I mean, it's okay, but same thing. The Bears, man, they really want to trade up, but I'm gonna have to reject both of them. This is where I would go corner. You got a Malik Muhammad that's still available. I like these little tidbits about the player. Malik Muhammad is an early declare in the 2026 NFL draft who holds merit as a mid to late day 2 option, etc. There are some flaws, pros and cons list of things, but I think we're going to have to take best corner available at 66. That's going to be Malik Muhammad. Another Texas player joins the Titans. Gunnar Helm and now Malik Muhammad. Okay, I'm getting off corner. I'm gonna leave linebacker to free agency, meaning I'm assuming that the Titans do free agency and they sign another linebacker outside of Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, all those Mike players. Mike means strong side linebacker. But I think right now, going with another tight end to replace Chigo Conquo if we don't re-sign him at this very moment. But no news has come out about Chigo Conquo yet until March because free agency starts March 11th, I believe. I want to say it's March 11th. March 11th feels like the right date. I'm just going to say March 11th. March 11th, players can negotiate their contracts with teams. I know I'm boring you with all this talk, but basically March 11th is the deadline to start free agency. You can begin negotiating with players in the free agency portal. It's basically like a transfer portal. Transfer portal is basically like a mini version of free agency. That is my hot take. Best players available: Elijah Surratt, if we wanted to double dip wide receiver, which we did already take our wide receiver in Chris Brazzell. I could double dip in wide receiver, even right here at 101, or do I go interior offensive line? There comes a point where you need to replace your older players with younger players, and this is the situation I'm thinking about. Jake Slaughter, elite grade of 93.3. Okay. We're going to take Jake Slaughter in the 4th round. And no one is offering us a trade. Okay. So, we are picking kind of back-to-back in the 5th round, so I don't think the Titans should trade out of this one. Let's go to all. Bud Clark, what a name. Do we get a quarterback to replace Will Levis, or will say that 3 times fast? Will Levis be the quarterback too in 2026? I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. Part of me wants to say he is a backup quarterback in 2026, but we can also get another quarterback late in the 7th round, maybe, assuming that we do have a 7th round pick, and I think we do. If I click the My Picks button, we do have a 7th round pick. It is at 218. Okay, this is where we draw the line right here. This is where all stuff becomes chicanery, for lack of a better term. Defense, I'm gonna jump the gun and go ahead and pick linebacker, because historically Titans have had really good success in 5th round linebackers for whatever reason. Aiden Fisher, Indiana, I want it. Oh, and the Colts. Oh, speaking of Indiana, the Indianapolis Colts have. Let's do this trade. You know what? That's the first one I'm going to accept. I like that. Lions, no. I know what you're trying to do there. I know what you are, Detroit. Okay. Let's see. What do we got here? Okay. I think our next biggest need is probably double dipping. I say double dipping a lot, but double dipping corner. I know I want to take a quarterback between here, 182, and 250, 253, Mr. Irrelevant type stuff. Kind of want to trade out of this pick, but that's okay. We can double dip receiver right now. Let's go another receiver just in case. Josh Cameron. It's a really good slot guy, but we have Malachi Manor. That's going to be one hell of a wide receiver battle. Oh my gosh, Malachi Fields. Already got that deep threat in Chris Brazzell. Josh Cameron. Gives me the same impression of D-Hop at 6'1", 218. Josh Cameron, it is. Welcome to the Titans, young man. Titans pick again at 182. Defense, I'm going to have to go defense. Damani Jackson, 6'1", 192. See, this is like the prototypical corner, right? Transferred to Alabama, where he produced his best tape yet. Outside of upside, however, he still leaves a lot to be desired, as his lack of discipline and inconsistent motor has lost him starting reps in 2025. That's like a Tyreek Sapp would be really good, to help out on that defense. I don't know what defense the Titans are going to run in 2026. I'm assuming Gus Bradley, who's the new defensive coordinator for the Titans, is probably going to run a 4-3, or a West Coast 3-4. 3-4 basically means you have 3 defensive linemen in the front, and you drop 4. Drop 4 linebackers. 3 3-3-5. There's so many different ways to prepare a defense in any sport. Basketball, football, hockey, tennis, hell, even baseball, right? Every sport, you got to predicate on your defense. Anyways, I think Tyreek Sapp is a great fit. He's a little slimmer. He's gonna have to try to get reps away from Ruben Bain, but I'm gonna take Tyreek Sapp. 182, 192. We're back at it. This is where we take our quarterback. So we got Cade Klubnik, Luke Altmaier, Drew Aller, Diego Pavia, Joey Aguilar still on the board. Tommy Castellanos, Florida State, Tyler Van Dyke. Oh man, I don't even know what year TVD is at right now. DeQuan Finn. Oh man, I think the person to back up Cam Ward is Carson Beck. No, I'm kidding. Carson Beck's long gone. This quarterback class is very interesting. I'm gonna pick Drew Aller. Just because of the whole James Franklin situation unfolding and, him leaving for Virginia Tech. And I'm going to give Drew Aller the benefit of the doubt. Hearsay. The Steelers take Chase Roberts. That was a wide receiver from BYU that had comparisons to Emeka Egbuka, right? Yeah. Man. I said Emeka Egbuka. Puka Nacua. Holy crap. Emeka Egbuka. What a player he is for the Bucs, and what a player he'll continue to be for the Bucs with Baker Mayfield. The Bucs need to fire Todd Bowles. I'm not a Bucs fan, but I've heard some stuff that the Bucs really messed up. Like, they need to gut their whole team. Okay. Anyways, 218. I'm going to go ahead and pick up another linebacker, right? We got Aiden Fisher. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyree West is still available somehow. This is before the draft, or before the combine, obviously. This is about 3 weeks out from the combine. Tyree West is still available. I'm going to take Tyree West just because I'm a very favored Vols fan. 218. Ready break. Did I ever take a tight end? I didn't. Okay. 6'4", 255. Gosh. We need somebody that can block and catch balls. Doesn't have elite explosion, speed or quickness, but at least passes. Route runner. DJ Rogers or Riley Nowakowski. I think Riley Nowakowski is the guy. We take 2 Indiana players. Look at that. Good job, Kurt. Okay. 253. Let's see who's on the board. I didn't even consider offensive line in the second round because I saw a name that said Proctor, and I thought it said Caden Proctor, like the offensive lineman from the Diego Pounds. Nice. 6'6", 332. Holy crap. Caden Proctor is an offensive tackle for Alabama. He'd be long gone after 8, probably. I don't know. Anyways. I made the Titans have not 8 picks, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 picks. You know what? I'm gonna go offensive tackle just because. Diego Pounds. That sounds like the coolest name ever. Markel Bell, 6'9", 340. Golly. Chris Adams. Nolan Rucci. Now this guy looks like a baller. Penn State. Offensive tackle. Yeah. Nolan Rucci. Welcome to the team. Anyways. This right here is just one draft. And I made one trade. I don't even know who I made the trade with, but here's the mock draft. It's beautiful, sort of, maybe. But we won't know a whole lot until after the combine, which is first weekend in March or something like that, around then. I know it's the last weekend in February, but we'll figure it out as time goes by. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for sticking through this one. I know it's a long video, but I haven't been uploading a lot. I do apologize for that. There's just not much to report on, you know. Obviously, you got a very quick turntable of, Super Bowl's going to be this Sunday. Hasn't happened yet, by the way, as I'm recording this. It's next Sunday. The Rams. The Patriots play the Seahawks. All media day's over. This is literally the day before Tuesday, February 4th, or whatever. I forgot. I lost track of time. Maybe it's Wednesday, February 4th, and I'm editing this on Thursday, February 5th. Whoa, 2/5/26. Anyways, that's a whole nother conundrum that we have an issue with. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Clearing my throat because when you talk for damn near 45 minutes about the same thing and mildly progress about it, I'm going to talk a little bit about the whole hiring situations because they made that stuff official today. So Brian Daboll is officially the offensive coordinator for the Titans. Gus Bradley is officially the defensive coordinator for the Titans. And Robert Saleh is officially the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Where this team will go, I don't know. I really don't know. Only time will tell. But what it seems like to me is that last year, 2025, was more of a rebuilding year. Cam's first year. I think he's going to have a really strong second year, just like how Drake May has. Okay. And when you put all the things together and you mix that with Cam Ward's tangible ability to play football, I think it's just a beautiful thing. And, as a fan, you got to be excited. Like, I am very excited. I know it doesn't look like I'm very excited, but I am very excited about the Tennessee Titans' future. What it may bring, who knows? We're 5 months out from training camp. But I do know one thing. I know that Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, Amy, the whole front office has done a phenomenal job this time around. Making sure, let's secure the future for, the next generation, because they're about to open their new stadium a year from today, probably. I don't know exactly when they're going to open it. I just know that 2026 is going to be the last year of Nissan Stadium, LP Field, Adelphia Coliseum, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of humbling to see, oh wow, my team has came from so much stuff and so much adversity through the years. Firing Mike Vrabel, trading AJ Brown, trading Chris Johnson. I can go on and on about all the mistakes the Titans have made in the past 10 years. And yet, 10, 15 years. Chris Johnson traded to the Jets was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. But anyways, that was about 12 years ago, give or take. But for what it's worth, be excited as a Titans fan. I think we have some of the best fans in the league. Obviously, there's some better fan bases out there, but I think we just need to stay strong, do what we need to be doing and, root for our team. And that goes for everything in life. You just got to be yourself, do what's best for you, and, you'll be fine. All right. Anyways, I want to end it there. Just wanted to give you a little motivation. After take, Ruben Bain, Chris Brazel, Malik Muhammad, Jake Slaughter, not Jack. Aiden Fisher, Josh Cameron, Tyreek Sapp, Drew Aller, Tyree West, Riley Nowakowski, Nolan Rucci. I think we're ready. I think the future is bright in Tennessee. Number 1 in salary cap, by the way. And that increased over the past week or so, right? We all saw that news that the salary cap was increasing from $280 million to $305 million, or whatever the projected cost is. It's just a butt ton of money. And whether you are a fan of your favorite team, whether that's not the Titans or whether that's not the Eagles or whatever, just be proud that your team is trying their best to make it a Super Bowl winner. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.